Everyone is welcome here, it's time to make new friends. Fill your Glencairn. Share a dram with the spirit of Edmonton.
Slancha. And you're going to see me in a second. You don't have to right away, because that's a good thing to look at. Good day, whiskey brothers, whiskey sisters, whiskey friends. This right here is episode 26 of the Canadian Whisky Journey. I'm Dolph. I'm the creator of Canadian Whisky Journey, and I'm your host tonight. And I'd like to welcome our lovely guests right here and you guys to this. I'm really happy you're here. We got Don DiMonte on top, founder of Last Straw Distillery and distiller extraordinaire. Our other panel members right now, we got Rich Lee and we've got Steven Schmutz. And we'll all introduce ourselves in a second. But I just really quickly got to say it's going to be a really exciting night because, to my knowledge, there's never been a program where a founder, owner, distiller has shared some of their oldest, and it is some of his oldest, most mature whiskeys with you, criticizing it on the air. That's right. In terms of Canadian micro distillery single malt, these three samples, these three that I have right there, represent some of the oldest that is out there right now. And Don sent the samples to us so that we can critique it. And we're going to talk about the good, we're going to talk about the bad, and possibly what could be done in the future with these whiskeys gone wild. So, gentlemen, if I could ask you to do a quick introduction of yourselves, introduce yourself and your other handles on social media. We're going to start with Don, and then we'll go Richard, Steve, if we can. Gentlemen.
Well, I'm Don from Last Straw Distillery. I do not know what our social media handles are because I don't handle our social media. I'm sure if you put Last Straw Distillery somewhere in social media, we will appear. And I have the shirt on, so.
Yeah, and that's how you spell it. And what are you drinking other than the three that we're criticizing?
I actually decided I'm going to pull out my cast strength corn that we released this year. And I believe we released it on your show. And yep, I haven't had it in a bit, so I think it's time to open that.
Excellent. Good idea. I got some right there.
There you go.
Cast strength corn. It's good. And we got some other cast strength corn over here, too. So, Steve? No, I did say Steve. Richard? I did. It doesn't matter. This is all me. It's all my fault. My wife's right. I just got to say that on the air. My wife's right. Steve?
Okay. I'm Steve Schmutz. Same thing on Facebook, Instagram.
And you're out of Kamloops. And what you drinking on the side tonight beside the samples?
I just poured a Buna 12 tonight, I think.
Oh, all right. Going with a little peat. Mix it up. Awesome. Thank you, sir. And Richard, who was supposed to be second, but it's okay. My fault. I just got to say it again.
All good. Thanks, man. Yeah, Richard Lee, Salt Spring Island, We Rock Whiskey Club on Twitter. And I've got some sparkling water from my Soda Stream on the side. And, but I might pour something else. I got a few other things back there, so we'll see what happens.
Rich, have you ever put whiskey through the Soda Stream?
Did I just hear you say put whiskey through the Soda Stream?
Yeah, I'm wondering if you've ever done that.
Ralph, you did that. No.
You've got to try it.
No.
Why not?
No.
Because we worked too hard to make whiskey to put it through a Soda Stream. No.
Okay. You know what? I like having whiskey and soda water, and it's a highball. It's fantastic. It's refreshing. And I'm just thinking maybe that would be just like it without bastardizing it with too much water.
I think that would be a mistake.
Okay. If I had one, and I'll get one now. I'm going to get one. I'm going to try it. I'm going to do it. And I'll try it with different types too. I'll go peat, non-peat. I'm going to go sweet. I'll do Canadian. I'm there. I got it.
I mean, that said, Dolph, we are talking about the potential of mistakes and things tonight. So maybe tonight would be a good time to try that.
I think we should all be experimental all the time. And those of us that try to distill, and I'm not saying me and Steve try to distill at any point in time, but those that try to distill, and I've been around it,
it's not easy.
It's not easy. It's not. It's not easy. Things go wrong. Things go right. Things are fantastic. Things not so fantastic. And the Soda Stream is one of those things I'm going to try. Yeah. My wife keeps saying no. I don't know why she's here doing it. It's horrible. So I just want to show a couple pictures in the background. So that's the three we're talking about tonight. So it's they're very scary. You see that with the pumpkin? And so we got the 3. We're starting with that one. So cask number 1, the 6.1 years old, and I said 58. No, 53.5. Is that right?
Yes.
My eyes is really small writing on that. So and here we've got cask 2, the single malt cask 2, and we've got the scorn. So the sprouted corn, otherwise known as scorn.
Yep.
Do you still call it scorn? It's not scorn on here.
It wasn't on. Oh no, that's not scorn. So the cast strength corn we did is just a standard corn. It's not sprouted.
Got it. Good to know.
Yeah.
So I won't be comparing those. And let's do some pictures so people can get an idea where we are. There we are, Last Straw Distillery. So Vaughan, Concord, Ontario. And I still have a problem knowing which one you want me to say. I think it's Vaughan.
Either one is fine.
All right. The storefront looks good. This is what it looks like from the street. A little bit more information. Top-down view. I don't know how old this is really, but
fairly old.
And some stills in there. Yep. So new stills and some other stills. Everything. And this is your first still. It's a little baby still. It's a good looking still. These are good. So there's the background pictures people might look at, and I'll go back and forth with those kind of later on. But let's just set the scene.
Okay.
This summer, Richard, Don, I, and Joss Happy were talking, and I think this was after hours. We were talking about cast strength, and I said I don't think you can make a cast strength that I didn't or wouldn't like. I think that's where this conversation started, and
I believe
you were telling me that. Well, I was full of crap because you have some samples that you could send me that I would not like. And I said, I don't think that's possible. And then we continue with the conversation. Yeah. And hence, here we are now. And I've got to tell you, though, at cast strength, when I tried 2 of them, I didn't know what was so wrong.
Wow.
One of them, I'm going to say one, I was a little bit disturbed by a certain element of it. We're not going to talk about it yet, but the first 2 I tried, and I'm not going to say if it was this order or not, but the first 2 I tried, I was not put off by them. And I didn't know if it was because it was cast strength or not, and I had to water it down to try to get the flavors out a little bit more. I don't know. But I said this on the introduction. You could have, if you wanted to, put these out into the open market, and let's say you got 225 bottles or $100 each, 22,500 for 1 cask. You have 3, so 67,500, and that would fill a whole bunch of new barrels for you.
It would
it not? You're buying barrels, that's a whole bunch
Absolutely.
in there, a lot of potential new money coming in. But you said no. You said no. For whatever reason, we'll find out tonight what you thought. So, tell me what you want to get out of the night. What do you think we should get out tonight?
I think that it's really important to show, especially because we did so well in the Canadian Whisky Awards, that there are failures out there, and micro distillers that are coming into the market should understand that as much as they want revenue, don't put your garbage out. Don't put your mistakes out, because it will just taint your reputation. And so I'm doing this to show what I think is our failures. And these are, I think, 3 epic fails.
Okay.
I think they're epic, and I can explain what happened on cask 1 and the scorn as well. The second one, I kind of know what happened.
All right.
But I think this is an interesting exercise to do. And I don't think anyone else has done it and been this forthright and, hey, we screwed up.
Yeah. And it's honest and good. I like the honesty, and maybe I disagree with you at the end. I think it'd be fun.
And it's possible, but again, like I think I've expressed before, that sometimes what happens is you fall in love with your own stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we're very...
And 2 brewers, the Baxters, are like that. He always says he wants to know for sure what you think, and don't tell me that you love everything I do, because then I can't believe you anymore.
Oh, exactly.
Things, right?
Exactly.
And I do like this concept, and we've talked to over the summer, and I have over the past year and a half, distillers who, and it's usually off camera, but this one wasn't on camera. This was Millstone, and what's his name? Patrick Van Zunum was saying, and this is when he first started. He just started making his rye. and he was a little bit scared because they didn't have the money for it, and he convinced his whole family to transfer over to the whiskey kind of stream. And he said when he tried it after the first year, he was scared to death. He thought he had made a mistake. He didn't want to explain it to his family. He was that apprehensive. Yeah. And then he said after, I think it was 4.5 years, it was good. Yeah. It took a while. And that'll be a question that I'll give you on these things afterwards. Do you think that more time will help? But let's I think this is a great setup. I think where we are is good. Richard and Steve, I trust their palates, and maybe more than mine. So let's start tasting these now. And gentlemen, did you pour any with water? Because I had the big sample bottle. I gave you guys a smaller one. I should have given you 2 each, I think, instead of 1 each. Yeah. But I've got some in water and some straight up. So there's the cast strength and obviously the water of the first one. So let's taste the first one.
I've got the straight up, and then I watered one down to about 20%.
Perfect. Yeah. And that's where I think I am with that as well. So on the nose, I'm not seeing too much of a problem on the first one. It's got a little bit of a sour note, but I'll leave the rest of you to chime in with this now. What do you think, Rich? Steve?
Picking up a bit of wet cardboard and some Play-Doh.
Is that bad though?
Well, my wife's a primary teacher, so I kind of like that.
It's what we're used to.
He was saying the hospital floor.
Yeah. Well, and we're peak guys as well, and we talk about Band-Aid and hospital floor, and there's others licking a ashtray. There's so many descriptors we use that sound disgusting, but aren't. Yeah. And I think as a child, I ate a lot of Play-Doh, so I think I like Play-Doh.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting the cardboard, and like Rich said, a bit of a kind of that doughy, Play-Doh-y.
Now, is that a sour? Sorry, not a sour. Is that a stale smell for you?
Yeah, or is it like?
It's not so much stale for me. I don't know how to describe it other than a little tiny bit industrial.
Okay.
Not so much chemically industrial, but hard to describe. I think Play-Doh is pretty much, I don't know. I think that's about as close as I can get to it.
And we've only nosed it yet, so. Any other comments? I'm going to ask Don's comments for the nose only at this point.
I'm getting a little touch of soapiness.
Okay.
Sometimes isn't bad.
For me, it's floral soapy. Yeah. So I could go with the floral soapy, like you have the hand wash and just a little bit floral in there with me. The cardboard I could agree with, but I don't know if it's a bad thing. So I don't know if you're looking for something.
As Randolph on the nose, there's nothing overly offensive. It's got an interesting nose to it.
Okay.
No, I find most of it's when you go to the watered down, you drop that ABV down, then you really pick up some of that. It gets a little more soapy for me.
I think prevailing, if I was going to say my first note that came out for me when I was doing this, it was wax. So just a type of wax that, and I don't know if you guys are about my age or a little bit younger, so I'm going to say younger. Trick-or-treating when I was a kid, they used to have these things, and this is when I was in Montreal, so I'm 10 years old. They were little flutes, looked like little pan flutes. You blew in it, and it made they were horrible sounding flutes, but then you ate it, and it was just a wax, and it had no real flavor to it, just a wax flavor. My wife doesn't know it either. Right? I relate things to candy a lot. I was a fat kid. I ate a lot of candy, and I was there. I had it. So these things were part of my life at one point. But yeah, they were red, and they were a flute. And if anyone on the side remembers anything like that, tell me about it so I don't think I'm nuts. But it was wax, is what I'm thinking. So Don, what are you getting on the nose with the non-watered down, possibly? I haven't gotten to the water yet.
I get a good ethanol note. I do pick up the waxiness and like a dryness, like someone said cardboard, and I pick that up as well.
Okay.
Part of the problem when I nose and I taste this is my memory.
Okay.
And my memory has what happened through all the distillations, because this was multiple distillations to make a batch. So considering we were mashing in a 55-gallon drum,
Okay.
and we were distilling in a 380-liter still. So
that's several.
Yeah, so we did several runs, and we were doing this. This one was done. It's the only cask we did off the grain. So we did it like a brewer's technique. But I'll explain later. I'm sure we'll get to this point where the failure was in here, and I know where it was, and we tried to overcome it 2 times.
Okay.
But I think I'm tainted by my understanding of what went wrong, and I can't get past that, if that makes any sense. This is why I don't trust my own palate or nose.
And maybe you'll never get beyond it. Maybe if you blended this or tried to blend it as 1/10 of something else, you would always smell or taste that one thing that you're looking for or have associated, right?
Probably.
All right, I'm going to the watered down version now. And do we get something different on the watered down version, or were you telling me that, Steve, was the watered down version for you?
Yeah, I find the soapiness gets a little more pronounced on the watered down version.
Okay.
So was it sun that did this,
Rich,
or was it-
were you telling us about watered down, or were you full strength when you were talking?
I'm full strength all the time. I didn't pick up the memo that I needed to bring some water. I tend not to add water to my whiskeys, so
Yeah, to get the notes, buddy. You're on Salt Spring Island. You're surrounded by water. I don't think it's hard.
if anything, just dump some more ethanol in there.
Okay.
We'll talk about it in December, Rich.
So cool.
And now, if you think candles, Steve, do you get candles now, possibly? Like birthday candles, just regular wax type thing.
Yeah, I get, like you were saying, one of them scented hand soaps,
Soap ones? Okay.
waxy.
All right. And Dawn, with water, do you have further comments, or do I go to the palate now?
Go to the palate. The only thing I notice is it actually has really nice legs in the glass, and I'm very surprised that it does.
I'll try to get it on the camera. I don't think we're gonna get it, but
yeah, it's really hard to get, but I'm actually very content with that part of it.
Okay.
But the soapiness is there, and I've cut mine by about half. So
Thick legs.
yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm diving in.
You passed it? Is it? Okay. No.
Now on the cast strength, can I say salt? Anyone else get kind of briny, salty?
Yeah, a lot of salt in there. There's a bitterness to it for sure. I wonder what was with the casks that you were using in this, Don? Is that
So
mistake or what was going
on this one, so I purchased these casks from Tennessee, and they were supposed to have been Heaven Hill fresh dumps.
on? Okay.
I think I was lied to. I think they were second use. But whether that's true or not, I'm not 100% sure. There's no way to know. This cask, however, I did this for about 2.5 years in this cask and was not happy with where it was going. This was converted and sent into Recharred number 3 ex-California wine barrel. So it was a Cabernet Sauvignon, and it was milled and charred. And that's where this one went, because I was trying to, what I thought would salvage it. Because trust me, what you're drinking now is light years away from how bad it was at 2.5 years.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out where the tannins I'm tasting came from.
That would be the
Yes,
first
there we go. And this was an STR cast then, and what size then?
So it originally came out of a 200-liter, 53-gallon Heaven Hill, and went into a 226-liter, 55, 56-gallon, I guess.
Okay.
California oak.
Yeah, there's certainly some woody notes in there. And my first impression was paint.
Okay.
It's a paint note. So But I have to say, after a couple of seconds, and the mouthfeel is actually quite nice. It's got a body to it.
Oh, this is
But
great.
after a couple of seconds, that paint sort of dissipated, and there came a sweetness that was actually quite pleasant.
Yeah, we could talk about the finish. Anything else on the body? I had salt, and I'll agree with the sweet and the woody influence as well. Steve, anything to add on the palate on this guy?
Yeah, I can. On the cast strength, I can see where Richard was getting a little bit of paint. Really drying.
I'm getting something at the back of the throat.
Yeah.
I'm looking for some help on that because I'm not identifying it. It's just a flavor at the back. I don't want to say a tart. It comes with the sweetness.
Fisherman's friend.
Fisherman's friend. Yeah, like
There we go.
herbal.
No, that could
That would work.
and that could just be the herbalness and just kind of an up herbal flavor kind of hitting in the back. I could go for
Uppity herbal.
uppity herbal.
Yeah,
Try
it's
that.
the type of fisherman's friends that is the that eucalyptus kind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the one
Oh,
with
so they're
sorbitol.
different types?
Yeah.
Oh, they have sorbitol ones with the stripes on it, and
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
No one's had a cold in 2 years.
Yeah, my wife said no one's had a cold in 2 years. We have no idea what you're talking about. Halls is taking a bath right now, I think. Right? All right, you know what? So
And finish?
I'm not as critical as you are, Don. So on the palate, what were you getting that was particularly disturbing to you?
Honestly, I think it's less about the palate, it's more about the memory.
Okay.
Oh.
To be fair, like when you make something, you're very critical.
Mhm.
If you're smart, you're very critical of what you make.
Mhm.
And anytime the three of us, so we're talking about Mike Hook, Brandon, my son, and myself, have had this cask, it's always been not ready, not there.
Okay.
The rise that we do, we're more in consensus. The original scorn we did was absolute consensus. This one is, if one of us is kind of almost in, two of us are out, and we won't do it.
Maybe you just like rye more.
It's possible, but honestly, my goal in life, if I can make the equivalent of a 2015 Laddie 10 from Berklady as a single malt, I would be happy to die at that point in my life.
Yeah.
Okay. And Richard was talking,
retire.
or retire. Yeah,
Or
that's not-
retire.
Yeah,
That's
don't
good.
die.
I'm seeing the legs coming out a lot right now after the swishes,
Yeah.
but so great mouthfeel. And you know what?
Finish?
Finish for me is a medium finish, and it goes from. I'll tell you now. If you have any left, gentlemen, let's do the finish. Yeah, so I'm hitting. For me, it was the sweet is second. Let's go with the eucalyptus. The what did I call it for the herbal? Uppity herbal at
It's
the
almost,
end.
is it almost vegetal? Like
Yes.
Vegetable oil?
like
No,
vegetal, like
Yes.
I'm
Like
picking up a almost a
herbal notes.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the uppity herbal at the end, and
Okay.
eucalyptus could be part of it, but it's a little bit harsher than a eucalyptus at the back of the throat for me, and that's the finish, sweetness, and I do get the. Does it start sweet for you three gentlemen?
No.
I
No.
don't get a lot of sweet. I get a lot of dry.
Yeah. Dry and bitter.
Yeah, that's how it starts.
Just a touch of bitter. I don't get a huge amount.
In a good way, or-
For me,
Okay.
the comes in at about 3 seconds.
So is
But
it
the
good
deep
one
finish,
bitter?
it gets bitter on me.
Mm.
Oh.
Well, and that's the back of the throat for me. I'm not going to go as far as saying bitter, but it doesn't. So for me, it's wax into the sweet, and I do get the sweet, and goes into the bitterness, and it leaves you with not bitter, the uppity herbal. I'm sticking with that one. The uppity herbal in the back of the throat. That's what's hit me at the end. And you know what? I would give that to some people in my house and I'd say, what do you think of this? And I'm not going to be as critical as you are about that one, Don. I'm afraid. So I think if you were to blend that into something, I think you could be happy with it at one point.
So, well, my thought in where that should go. So, because it's already been double cast, I've debated on triple casking it.
Okay.
And the problem with triple casking it is any cask I get that I'd really want to go to would be either sherry or port.
Ooh, okay.
And there's not enough of it to fit like a port butt. Yeah, I just don't have near enough.
Batch 1 and batch 2 together, that'll go in your
well
pipe.
You know, that's actually consideration, and I've even thought of bringing the third one in, like
some corn.
You never know, right?
Get some rye in there, you'll have a 3 grain.
Yeah.
3 grain in a port.
You know, that said, Don, I've had the opportunity quite recently to be able to try some spirit from or some whiskey from a cask that's aged over the years. And I remember tasting it when it was at about, I think it was 8 years and then 10.5 years. And both times at the 8 and the 10.5 year mark, it was industrial, it was woody, it wasn't very bright, didn't have a lot of positives going for it. The people who owned this particular cask ended up bottling it at about 12.5 years of age. And, you know, with a bit of trepidation, I poured a drink from it as soon as these people received it. And it was absolutely charming. Like, sometimes it just takes a bit of time maybe to get over those rough patches. And maybe it's not so much the tinkering as it is just the settling out of things. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that that's always the case, or it is with this, but that was the experience with this one cask that I remember tasting over the years.
And I don't discount that. Like, I've always had this feeling, and I've said this out loud and got a lot of crap for it, but when you watch a documentary about a distillery and you hear about this cask that's been laying back in the corner, and you know, the master distiller for 30 years kept pulling from it and said this was great. I run a distillery, and I guess I am small. I get that, but I can't imagine large distillers any different. If a whiskey is good at 3 to 5 years, do you not think you'd put it in the market and sell it? If a whiskey is no good, yeah, exactly. If the whiskey is no good at 3 years, okay, is it good at 5 or 7? And if it's no good at 5 or 7, is it good at 12 or 18? And if it's no good at 12 or 18, if it's really bloody bad, does it go to a 60-year and become $35,000 a bottle?
Maybe.
Because I don't imagine the distiller walks through and goes, that cask with this mash is going to be our 60-year-old whiskey.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree.
So I think the 60-year-old whiskeys for $35K at the LCBO are literally the crap that they could not sell for 45, 50 years. That's kind of where I think. Now, is this whiskey going to go that way? I don't know. Maybe. And I think time will do something. It'll mellow something out. Like, the chemical reactions happening will do something to it.
Yeah.
I could tinker with it, or I could leave it alone. And I get your point. Maybe leaving it is what I should do.
Yeah.
If there's nothing wrong with this Californian Cab Sauv cask, if you like that cask, you know, for me, I would say maybe keep it in for a little while. The only other thing, you know, I maybe you put it back into a first fill bourbon cask that you really like, but then you're also playing with the risk of, you know, using up a really nice ex-bourbon cask as well. So
the only problem with the wine cask, though, is they're not charred.
So this one has actually been milled down by about a 1/4 inch.
Oh, and you charred it.
And it's been charred, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what I heard. I heard STR.
Okay.
Shaved toasted. Well, did you toast it?
No, it was actually charred. It was charred to a number 3. Yeah. So unfortunately, I've lost my Cooper. The pandemic killed him. So he actually sold out the business.
Okay, not literally. Good.
No. He just couldn't get cask because there was enough wine being dumped, and his business kind of faltered a bit. And I really regret that because he was awesome. it was DRM Recoup in the Niagara region. But now the Gretzky's distillery bought the cooperage out.
Oh,
so they're actually doing it. I've been in talks with them, and there's a chance that we can actually go back to getting some rechars from them.
well, that'd be nice.
Yeah, because they said they actually want to help the micro industry.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, it's really good to hear.
Okay. And palate or finish on the water, anything different? Because I just tried the water. I'm less a fan of it with the water, but I always am less a fan of whiskey with water. But it's I get who said kind of industrial, kind of paint thinner, like.
Yeah.
Was that Rich? Okay, that's what I'm getting now with the watered down version. But I wasn't getting that on the cask strength.
I get more so on the watered down version. But that's how you bring those out too, right?
But Dawn, have you thought about just blending this into something else that you already have?
Honestly, no.
As opposed to recasking it, just blending it away.
I'm not a fan of blending.
Okay.
You know, I might be, you know, people might claim that I'm more of the American version of things. I like my blending in the mash.
Okay.
I don't like blending after the fact. And I like doing very hard chars and very bold whiskeys as opposed to the conventional Canadian. Yeah. But I think Canadian whiskeys can be bold. You know, I've been working also with some single malts in new chars. Because I think there's an avenue for that we could be exploring. I'm not successful with it yet because, again, I don't think I have the ability to get a really good single malt down yet.
All right. Well, I'm voting for the waiting anyways. That was my vote. But so tell us the story again. So you blended this. This was your single malt, and this was how many years ago? 6.1 years ago. And it was what, the first batch, the second batch that you weren't happy?
That was the first batch. It took multiple distillation, multiple mashing, multiple distillations to get that cask filled. Okay. And we filled that cask. And a very funny story about it was it was worse when I started because, you know, you can read all the books you want about distilling.
Yeah.
But until you do it, you really don't understand it. So, you know, we did it, we put it in the cask, and it was just going nowhere. It was getting worse. Okay. And there was a distillery in Toronto at the time back then called the Toronto Distillery Company. I think they were third or fourth licensed distillery in Ontario. Okay. And there was a guy there, Jesse Razenpour. I hope I'm getting his last name correct. It was him and Charles Benoit that started the Toronto Distillery, and I would talk with them constantly. And I brought them a sample, and I brought it to Jesse one day on a Saturday, and he took the sample, and I'll never forget this. He smelled it. He said, "Okay, just give me a minute," and he went and grabbed a piece of copper. And I thought, "What's he doing?" And we were talking. It was in a mason jar. And he took a piece of steel wool and he cleaned up the copper and he washed it out and did whatever. And we're talking about whatever. I can't even remember what we're talking about. And he sticks it in the mason jar. And we're still talking. And about a minute and a half later, he pulls it out and he goes, "Smell it now." And when I smelled it, all I got was tails.
Okay.
So he pulled the sulfides out that were masking the tails. And this is when I actually learned I didn't have enough copper in my system. And it was due to another micro distiller that helped me. And he helped me by just showing me instead of explaining it and being, you know, whatever. It was just, let me show you this. And it was like, at that point, it's like, okay, I get this. And I went and I lined my still with copper, put way more copper in the system, redistilled this cask.
Okay.
To get the tails and the sulfides out of it. So this poor cask had no hope from day one if it wasn't for other people helping me out.
All right.
That was my first thought with the cardboard wet doggy smell is you went into the tails quite a bit.
So then when we redistilled it, we put it back in the same cask because back then I couldn't afford to get more cask. So some of the residue
Oh, no.
in
It's
the
still
char. It's still
Okay.
there.
And for those out there, going into the tails is not a bad thing. Going in too much for some people might not be. But if you want peat, let's say you're doing a peat, you want to go into the tails, and that's where you're going to get your peaty elements is all in the tails. So if you cut it off too quick when you're doing a peaty run, you're losing a lot of flavor as well. So there is flavor in the tails, and it's not always bad.
No, but there's parts of the tails you'll skip over to get to the smokiness. That goes farther down in the tails.
Good point.
All right. Sound good, gentlemen? Let's do number 2.
Okay.
And again, quite the color on that one, right?
All natural.
Oh, that's a
It's
beautiful
all
color.
natural, non-chill filtered, no coloring. And I thought the nose on this was pretty good too.
What are the specs on it?
And let's talk about this one's a Cask 2. This is 5.8 years old, 52.8%. That's it right there. Actually, I should do this. I could see the numbers better. Oh, you're going to make it bigger. Oh, no. We go. Here. That's a better one.
There we go.
Yeah, no, I didn't cheat like you did, Dolph. I haven't tried any of these ahead of time.
Well, as I was pouring them for you guys, that's what I was doing.
Actually, maybe you should do that there. So
Cheating. I'm sharing.
we can move to the other side. Maybe we'll leave that.
Yeah, we'll leave this in the middle for a bit. That's all right. All right,
What's the
so
backstory?
let's give you about five more seconds on the nose. And Don, do you want to give us a bit of backstory that doesn't give away too much?
So again, it was put into another rechar. It was one of our moonshine casks that we double cast in. It started Heaven Hill, which claimed to be a first dump, but I think again I got screwed. So we put that into another rechar, but it was a rechar done off one of our moonshine barrels.
Okay.
So it was one of our original moonshines we did, which was an ex Jack Daniels, which I think the Jacks were good.
Okay.
So we did our moonshine in that, and then we had it charred and did this. The thing with this one was I tried to get smart and work on the grain using electric heaters.
To do what?
So our still was an immersion still, meaning it had heaters in the wash.
Yeah.
So I thought if I ran the wash thin enough and the heaters were extra long and there was like this calculation I did in my head, which made perfect sense, that I wouldn't burn a heater out. Well, I actually burned a heater out in one of these mashes.
So you're thinking there's more of a, not a char, but a burnt smell to it? Is what you think you're getting?
There's a burnt element to this.
Do you get that? He might get that because of the story. Right?
All right. No, I didn't get that at first. That wasn't a smell that was coming out for me. So I don't know if the suggestion is going to make its way there, but
it probably will.
During the fermentation, that was during the.
That was during the distillation, the stripping.
Yep. So the second one. Okay. Steve, what you got?
I can see it.
I don't get any burnt at all.
I get a touch, just the slightest hint of smoky, but maybe that's from that. I don't know if it's a bad smoky though. But I also get some sort of sour fruit hiding in the back there. I know maybe like a tangerine or something like that, which is kind of neat.
But not a bad one. Yeah.
Okay. I'll cleanse my palate with some of your rye. Rich?
On the nose.
On the nose, my first impression was, and I don't know if it's just a Halloween sort of atmosphere, but red nibs.
Red nibs? Excellent.
Red nibs. So maybe it's Don's shirt as well that just
it's coming out. I was going to say pumpkin because the pumpkins that were in the background, but no.
No pumpkin spice.
No, not pumpkin spice. I was saying pumpkin. But no. So I was getting the caramelly smell.
I get caramel, yeah.
So caramel was first. I'm not getting any vanillins. And the last whiskey, as this one, there's a small sourness at the tip of my nose. I'm going to.
I don't know if it's the power of suggestion, but now that Don's mentioned the burned heater, there is that sort of melted metal or plastic sort of note to it.
Overly hot metal.
Let me see.
Okay. And I'm going to my watered down version now. And I'm gonna piggyback on what you say, Rich. But I'm going to say on the watered down version, this just smells like a pot that's been boiling water and it's gone dry. So the hot metal scent on the watered down one, I wasn't getting it on this, but on the watered down, that's what I'm getting.
Yeah, I can smell that too. That's we got a wood burning stove upstairs. Yeah, when the kettle runs dry on it.
Yeah,
it's similar.
Yeah. 5.8 is that.
But I don't know if I would have picked that up had Don not mentioned the story either. So
it's possible, and maybe I should have held that back to the
no, that's good.
No, it's all good. 5.8.
5.8 years old. No, this is cast number 2.
Cast number 2 for it. Oh, okay. No, cast number.
Okay. I'm going in. I'm diving in. On the palate. Let's see what we got. And as we figure this out, Don, what did you get on the nose?
Again, it's really hard for me to come up with what I get because as soon as I smell it, I get memories. And I get memories of everything I did, which is why I come to other people for their take on it.
Okay.
They always ask the staff, what do you get?
Well, it makes sense. You ask your staff, you ask your son in your case, you ask, Mike, if he's there.
Yeah, but Brandon is very critical of everything we do. And he is exceptionally critical on these two because he was there for the mistakes. Mm-hmm. And, his view is we should redistill these.
That's a lot of wasted time.
It is. It is, but I don't discount his opinion.
Nope. Mm-hmm. Although he's young and impetuous.
Well,
just redo it, Dad.
Every year that goes by, he's not getting any younger. He's getting older, and he's getting smarter. So
it's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Good job, Dad. A sourness at the back. Chime in, gentlemen. Go ahead. Palate.
Yeah, first sip, it took me back a bit. I was I don't know if I have any tasting notes on it. Let me see if I can go back to it and recreate that moment.
In the cast strength glass, I'm not finding a lot offensive in this.
There you go.
I thought it was hefty. I've drank through most of it, so I keep drinking more and more, so it's not that offensive.
And like the nose, I enjoyed the nose. I enjoyed the taste. I didn't notice anything until I went to the watered down version.
Mm-hmm. And there's not a whole bunch of people bringing their water or bringing their whiskey down to 20% or less like we did tonight. So.
No. Well, if you want to see a good whiskey, you destroy it, and that's how you can tell it's a good whiskey.
Steve, on the watered down, I'm going to that now. And Rich, did you have anything else to add to the palate?
Yeah, I mean, having gone on this Canadian whiskey journey with you, and even over the last couple of years, just trying new things, whether it's more bourbon, more American whiskeys, and more international whiskeys. What I don't pick up a lot of bad on this, Don. I pick up different. that just, is it something that I would probably want to buy a bottle of? No, I don't think so. Am I pleased that I get the opportunity to try something like this? Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a place for whiskey like this that has this flavor profile. It's not something that I would want to own. But it's, you know, it's not that unpleasant, you know. It's got some revealing notes to it. The fact that it's different is important too.
It's not ready, like it's not a whiskey.
You know, I don't think that we can all try to be, you know, a 2015 10-year-old Brook Laddie. So
no, I don't think we can. But I also think that in Last Straw, we've kind of set a standard when we release a whiskey. The ryes we've released, the corns we've released have all done quite well because we're very, very critical of them.
yeah,
And the point is this a single malt worthy of what we're trying to create? And my opinion is no, I don't think so. And you know, even I'll give you an example. In my distillery actually exists another distillery. It's the Durham distillery. And just if I can give a shout out to them, Chris Ferg from the Durham distillery just got his location in Whitby, or sorry, Ajax. I really get those two screwed up with the Ajax.
It's okay.
He's got this amazing, it's an old fire hall, and he's putting his distillery in an old fire hall. He just signed it off last week, 2 weeks ago, roughly. I was out there to see him. We celebrated with actually our cast strength rye. He brought a bottle out. We opened that. And we had a dram together and shared it and hugged. And it's just great seeing somebody that came to me years ago and wanted to get going. And he's been distilling here for about 3 years, I think. And he's got some whiskeys coming up too.
Nice.
And the great thing about Chris is he goes into the bourbon lotteries at the LCBO.
Yeah.
And anytime he gets this amazing bourbon, it doesn't get cracked till it comes here. And him and I share it together.
Nice.
And so I want to give him a shout out, but I trust his palate too. And he's tried these whiskeys as well. And he said, it's not Last Straw worthy.
Not yet.
And it's opinions of other people like that are whiskey people that we go after. Like he's loved everything we've made that we've released, and he does not love these
Yet.
So Don, what if you were to bottle this and sell this at cost, what would sort of be your bottom line?
I don't even look at cost anymore.
What I'm wondering is if you could, because there is a market for whiskey that's cheap and not very tasty. You know, you call it Canada Beach or whatever, you know, frat party whiskey, whatever you want to call it.
Whiskey.
Sorry?
Whiskey. The
whiskey. And just, you know, like maybe bottle it under a different guise and, you know, be upfront and honest with it, whatever. But yeah, I totally get not wanting to damage the reputation of your company. And if it's not the flavor profile that you want to present to your market, I get that too.
Yeah, no, I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could go down that road. If I want to do the whiskey, which I kind of do in a way, I buy it in and put it out for like rail stuff for bars and restaurants, especially during the pandemic. We did that as well. What's going to be our brand is not going to be something I'm not proud to put out.
I'm still thinking a blend might be something. You've got a whole bunch of barrels. You could have a whole bunch of test tubes, just having fun a couple afternoons. You and your boy just blend stuff in there just to see what that would look like.
The problem with that, though, is that like any good recipe, if you're using crappy wine in your cooking, you know, as opposed to good wine, it doesn't really help your cooking, your food that you're producing.
No.
The only you could, again, I mean, you could host like a Giggles and Chuckles private blending course where you allow people to play with this stuff and they get to make their own choices. But you know, at the same time, I get what you're saying, Don. You want good stuff coming out of Last Straw. So
No, absolutely.
Years to
Um,
continue.
I honestly think I just pulled our cask 5 single malt, like single malt barley,
Nice.
and it's just over 3 years. It's one of the cleanest barleys we've done,
Oh,
Wow.
but I'm prepping to dump a rum barrel that's 3.5 years, and I'm debating on finishing it in the rum barrel. So I
it's
might
the
do
best single malt you
months in
have
the
yet.
rum. Yes, and I still think I want to dump it into the rum barrel. I
Okay.
just want to. That's my gut. I don't know why.
Well, there's the experimental thing coming
Yeah.
on. So you want to experiment, you there, and then you laughed at me putting it through Rich's. What was that thing called again?
So
Soda
it's
stream.
Oh, the soda stream.
No, put it in the barrel and then just
You know what? I'll put this stuff through a soda stream,
No.
and if it's fantastic, I'm
Let me
selling
know. Yeah,
finish.
I'll tell you what. I'll sell you the cask, and you can do what you want with it.
No.
it. My wife says,
I heard no.
Give me
I
your
heard
Try
can.
the Soda Stream.
Well, that's the other thing I was wondering too, Don. If you want to sell it to different clubs and just say, "Hey, you guys go play with it and do whatever you want." I mean, how many of us have these, mini barrels that we could bung something in and
Yeah.
kind of play with it? So
I got
Well,
two.
you know what? Everybody has my email, don@lastdistillery.com. If there's a whiskey club out there that wants to buy one of these casks and try and repair it, I will actually give them the kudos for fixing it.
That was fun.
I'd do it. Just it's something to play with, and
Yeah.
I think when you buy the little casks, I don't think anyone believes they're going to make the whiskey better. I don't know anyone that really did believe that they were going to make whiskey all that much better in the little casks. It's just playing with it.
Yeah.
It's
So
fun. It's just fun.
So with this one
it
here,
is.
Finish?
I don't know what the whole story is. Is it just that the element went when you're doing it? To me, when I water it down, I start to get that cardboardy tails again.
So
it's that Heaven Hill cask too, right?
yeah. So I've come to the theory, and again, this is through experience. The best single malts I've ever had have all been off the grain, and I'm working on the grain. And I've had some American single malts. I've had Balcones. I've had a few other ones. And it's a good single malt, but it doesn't hold to the Scottish single malts. And I'm a fan of Balvenie, Bruichladdich. I love the peated stuff, but you can't compare the peated stuff because the influence of the peat just throws everything off. So you got to look at like the Highland Parks. You got to look at those things. Like honestly, I think a Highland Park 12 is better than a Highland Park 18.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion. But I'm looking for that flavor that I'm not getting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I have to probably employ a brewer to get the mash to where I want it. So another interesting story I have coming up in December is going to be a stout whiskey that I've done.
All right,
So
good.
I did a stout spirit years ago when a brewery said to me, "We've got some stout. The barrel had an issue. What happened was a steam line was sitting above the barrel, and somebody pressed the wrong valve, and it boiled the barrel. Basically, overheated the barrel.
Yeah.
So I took that spirit or that beer, and I distilled it twice, and I made the stout spirit. I threw it in a small barrel I had, and it was epic.
Right.
So I think I made 21 bottles of it. I put it up for $70, and people laughed at me. And then they tried it, and then I sold out 70 bottles in like 3 weeks.
Nice.
So then the brewery mashed for me a high gravity mash of the same thing.
Okay.
And I distilled it twice, put it in a new char. So I ended up with two barrels. One I put down as a spirit for 4 months, and I sold it, and it sold well. Like we had a huge customer base for it.
Nice.
And it's gone. Now its sister cask is coming up to whiskey. I did a barrel pull 4 months ago, and it damn near brought a tear to my eye how good it is.
Nice.
So that's coming out very soon. And that's kind of led me to, maybe the malted barley needs to be off the grain. I don't know 100% for sure, but I've not had a lot of success on the grain with malted barley. But with rye, corn, wheat, no problem.
Yeah.
But the barley doesn't go. I don't know. So the stout cask may dictate what we do next.
Well, I'll try to reserve 2 from you, 1 for me and 1 for the club, because we're doing in January. We're doing a beer finished or beer cask
There you go.
thing, so that'd be perfect for us. That'd be good. And you said it's coming out December?
Yeah, we're gonna dump it in November, probably bottle it for December release for Christmas.
Are you doing anything special? You're not doing an advent calendar or something like that for Christmas, or are you just too busy already?
We've got a lot of contract work going on right now. Like before this segment, I was just bottling off some rum for somebody, and now I got to come in Monday and try and get 70 bottles done to finish that off for Monday morning, so I can ship stuff off to Still Waters to do some more bottling for me, because there's just so much bottling to do.
Awesome.
One other question before we go to the last one, because I'm going to forget. I'm enjoying this a lot. Do you have any more?
Very few bottles. We actually put it into the Canadian Whisky Awards this year to see how it does. But I think we're literally down to less than a case.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm going to reserve another one of these because I like it. It's the other one I've been sipping all night. I've been on the rye. I've been sipping this. Just quick background on this one, if you can, because I can't remember. Whiskey in the Six.
Yep. So Rob
worked with you on this.
Yeah, Rob said he wanted to do a bourbon style mash, so we agreed to finally a 70-20-10. I called it, which was 70 corn, 20 rye, 10 barley. That was done in an ex Heaven Hill recharred to a number 4.
Okay.
So milled and recharred by DRM.
Yep.
And Rob picked the cask, and we laid it down, and we tried it every year. And it's been called a very unique whiskey.
I like it. Yep.
A lot of people, it's 3 year. A lot of people say it's like a cross between a Canadian and a bourbon. I'm not sure where they get the Canadian part of that, other than made in Canada. And it could be just the way I distill. Yeah, it's bourbon-esque, but yeah, there is something unique about it.
56%.
Yeah,
non-chill filtered, non-colored, all the same stuff we always say. It's it's really good. And Richard, I sent you some. You have it in front of you, I think. I don't know if you like it as much as me, but that's what I've been cleansing my palate with all night.
It's not 60% or higher, is it?
What's that, Steve?
It's not 60% or higher, is it?
No, 56.
56. And
Steve, like some below 60.
A little bit light for Richard, but it's okay.
And I did remember, like, I'm going in this blind, never trying Last Straw. Mm-hmm. But Richard was out in the summer, and I just remembered he gave me a couple Last Straw samples. So I just poured one.
He didn't give you the samples I gave him, did he?
Probably.
No,
this is
I can't believe that.
This is the
and
corn.
He scratched off my name. Forget Spirit of Edmonton.
No, these are from the bottles that got shipped to me from Yarka.
Yarka, good. Which is the stuff we already have.
Yeah.
Oh no, that wasn't Yarka. That was Don that sent it to you, because Yarka was Craftworks and that was the international. This is Canadian.
Oh,
so
okay.
It
was from Don. Then it was the corn whiskey and the rye.
Yeah. Cast strength.
Yeah,
corn and the rye.
And rye was at 46 or something.
Yeah.
45.
And those are the two I've been drinking all night. So this rye and the whiskey. Well, whiskey in the Six. The cast strength corn. Well, you know what? We're off kilter. Let's come back to the tasting.
Yep.
Number 3. And I'm gonna save my opinions till the end because I don't want them to.
So this is the one. Obviously, Dolph. This is the one that made you go like, "What the hell are we doing here?"
Okay, so let me go first. It's horrible.
But why?
But that's enough.
Okay.
let's go to Steve and Richard, what they get.
I gotta put this on. We gotta know what we're drinking.
Okay, so this is that one. No.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the sprouted corn, right? That's it.
Okay, sprouted corn. It's 48.4, 4.8 year.
48.4%, 4.8 year, and it says cast number 2. This is also cast strength. 48.4 for cast strength. So you lost. What did this come out at initially? Were you in the 60s before you put it in the barrel?
No, I was lower than that. This was a stretch distill, and
But this is a little bit.
this is what you do when you think you know better than you really know, and you stretch the crap out of it and try and get it into a barrel.
Okay. I'm just showing this just for the color, because the color in the background of the one in the middle is with a pumpkin behind it. So this is the color. This is the lightest we have of the three. And sprouted corn.
So, Don, are you saying that this is a lot of the tails are in this?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm waiting for you two to talk. I'll tell you what I think. I got an initial note that I that has not come out of my head since, with water or not. I can't get beyond it. So I'll wait.
Let's hear from Steve on this one first.
Steve, you're up.
What do you think, man?
You know, that last one, if I bought it, I would have been kind of like, it's not great, but it's not horrible.
I would have finished it.
Yeah.
With friends, I would have poured it for people.
And maybe for novelty, I would have bought another one.
Mhm.
This one, though,
Yep.
What do you smell?
yeah. Are you just trying to get that little bit extra to fill the barrel?
Yep.
Okay.
No.
Never again.
Oh, good for you.
Flavors. What are you getting on the nose before you taste it?
I can't even describe it. Honestly, I don't. It's not offensive. It's not good. I just don't have something I can compare it to.
Think of something when you've done your house, like working on your house. Think of something. This is where I'm coming from. Working on your house. You work with your hands. You've done what I think this smells like before.
Caulking?
Like I do get the cardboard and wood sawdust, and
I got a little bit of baby spit up on this one.
a which?
The spit up that you get from a newborn.
So the pablum coming
That's
up.
been 20 years for me. I don't.
Yeah, but that
27 for
smell
me.
is still strong.
You'll remember that forever.
You do.
So for me, this is what I think ugly tastes like.
I don't want to be that mean, so I'm not going to say that. You can be as mean as you want to yourself, but
Well, no,
Are we-
we're here to be honest and critical about it, and I know that was a massive mistake. Now, will that be the 65-year-old whiskey when I'm long gone and my grandchild sells it from the distillery? Here's hoping.
well, if they make a ton of money, good for
And
them.
it'll be like $180,000 a bottle by then.
Yeah.
So
At least.
American.
78,000.
American or
All right.
euros.
Anything else on the nose before I give you my nose?
Yeah, just give us a sec.
There's something there.
And I've got some the watered down version.
If you watered it with ginger ale, it's drinkable.
I guess some glue on it.
Yeah,
Maybe the Elmer's glue.
it's a latex glue. You know, I actually feel like I should use it to train people in what tails taste like, and what tails taste like in 3 years, 4 years,
For
5
corn.
years.
Specifically, because
Yeah.
I've never smelled tails like that on anything that I've
Yeah.
not
Well,
officially
Not
made.
just corn, but malted corn.
Yeah. Yes, the sprouted corn.
Yeah.
Scorned.
It's amazing that Scorn took best Canadian whiskey, and this is the sister cask.
You know what? Gavin loved it. He loved it. And
I
when
know.
you were
Yeah.
talking about our Canadian whiskey journey, Gavin had to absolutely go to yours because he loved the Scorn so much.
Yeah.
So, we haven't said that, by the way.
So Don, was that the same distillate as the Scorn,
That's Scorn.
but just put in a different cask.
Yeah, different cask and stretched really far.
Right. And so the 49% Scorn is the sister cask.
Yeah.
Is it off the same distillation though?
No.
Oh, different distillate.
Oh yeah, different distillate.
I'm gonna try that
So
side
if
by
you
side.
want to see these guys' last straw, so it's page 190 again. And The Canadian Whisky Awards is Davin. It's not Blair's thing. This is Davin and Blair, the book. So page 190 for them. I already have it set up there. So that's the last draw for you. And you get the information. It's lots of info on there. But yeah, Davin had to include you on the first one because of that score. He was so impressed by it. And when I had it as well, yes. And no one that I know have ever had a sprouty corn before either, or a malty corn. We should say malty corn. Sprouty corn messes people up a little bit.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Just comparing the two, like the scorn smells a little more like sawdust, where this cask 2 is more like when you take a table saw or whatever and you rip particle board.
Okay.
Like that sawdust smell on the scorn, the 49% is really quite nice.
Steven?
Tell us.
Oh, for me?
Tell us your thoughts on this.
You've all painted something before. So just think of when you're in your sink, rinsing out, and latex was close to it for me. So you're rinsing out your paint brushes, and that smell that comes off of hot water as you're doing that, the paint, just trying to get the paint off the brush.
Like some whiskeys, you get that perfume, that flavor that gets in your throat from it.
This, and I can't get away from that smell with this whatsoever, no matter what I've done. And I've done some painting in this house. It's not like it's a prevalent thing I do all the time, but that aroma is not escaping me no matter what I do. This with the water and over time and trying to think of the things that you guys have been saying, that's sticking with me.
Yeah, I think that's like that Elmer's glue nose point that I have there.
You can do it.
So, there's a vinyl latex note to that just won't go away.
Yeah.
And if you try and get away from it, it just chases you. It's horrible.
So what do you do with this then? In my mind, you redistill it. There's nothing else to do.
I think this is a candidate for redistillation.
Honestly, I would even waste the time redistilling it. I think I'm just going to leave it alone.
Okay.
Do you make any neutrals?
No, I'm going to throw it in the corner, and I'm going to see what time does. Because I may be able to write a book on this.
Yeah, and send the sample. The
other thing too, Don, there's a definite market for hand sanitizer these days.
I'm in that business, very big.
Yeah.
This is a really good hand sanitizer.
It's not strong
the ABV. Well, you got to distill it again.
Yeah, I'd have to distill it again. Honestly, I think when a cask goes south, my experiment would be, I'd like to know where it landed on my deathbed.
Yeah.
So let's see what it
That's
does.
cool.
Yeah. Or after.
And
Taste it.
aging will reduce tails.
Tell me what you get on the palate.
Horrible.
Do it. No, do it. That's what this show's all about. We can enjoy the first two, and I did. Got to do this. What do you get on the mouth? And the baby puke, other than the spit up, is kind of
ever since you said that paint, Dolph.
Yeah, that's it.
That's what I get, but I do get sweetness on this, but that's corn, right?
Yeah.
I get heavy bitterness on this.
I get a little shot of sweetness under the paint.
I get the latex vinyl paint, and then the sweetness, and then it just falls away to I wish I never drank that.
Yeah, dryness.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, it's empty.
Do you want me to send you this?
I think I still have some in there too, but we'll leave that for my buddy Jeff, who's on the call.
You know, at the beginning of the night, I poured these roughly an hour before we started so they could breathe.
Oh, nice.
And I was nosing this one, and it wasn't that bad.
This last one, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I thought we were going to do that one first because it said number one.
I opened
But I
this
had nothing to
at
compare it to
6:30
either.
my time. So this has been open for an hour and 40 minutes.
Woo!
And what I also did the night that I was pouring your stuff, I had 3 Glencairns, and what I did is I let it dry out overnight as well, just to see the smell the next day. Okay. And I got to tell you as well, both the single malts weren't all that offensive the next day after it's dried out, because
Right.
I do like trying it the next day. And this one, the smell changed, but it wasn't dry paint anymore. It was something different, but
Yeah.
still I couldn't do anything great with it.
No,
So I didn't want to be terribly mean, and I wanted to start with some things that were great.
It's not about being mean. That's not what this is. Nobody's being mean. It's about being honest.
Yeah.
And I already know what I think of this, and I have a super low opinion of this whiskey. This will never see the light of day in my lifetime.
You know what? If we can't learn by things, we're not going to grow as people. So let's just chalk it up as a learning opportunity.
And ultimately, if somebody who wants to get into distilling watches this video, I'm hoping this teaches them something. Like, I've often said this. I live between 3 and 5 years. My whiskeys have to be decent or good or excellent between 3 and 5 years, because I'm a small distiller. I don't have a lot of time.
Yeah, unless you're a multi-millionaire.
Exactly. I don't have 18 years. I can't buy an X. What's that beer called in Ireland? God.
Guinness.
I can't buy an X Guinness factory, put 2 stills that Bergladi had in there, build a distillery, automate it, and do everything, and not take revenue for 8 years. I have to get revenue as fast as possible. So one thing I've learned is stop reaching into the tails. Just ignore them. Do the hearts. Do them as tight as you can. Get it into good casks, whether they're good used bourbons or they're new chars. Brand new barrels are the best way to go. Get them into that and make the best whiskey you can possibly make as quick as you can. And let the other guys fight over age that can afford to wait that time. I can't.
So, and I'm gonna give you a situation, and let's just play with this. Let's act like you are a blender. Let's act like you're the next Dr. Don. You've got 20 years. You've got your blending whiskeys. You've got your more powerful whiskeys that you have. What could you do with something like this, do you think, to make this work?
Honestly, the best thing I could do for this would probably be blend it with the other 2, get it into number 4 chars, crank them for 3 years, and add some new make into them.
Okay.
Some new rye into, like, I have thought of this, of splitting them into two casks in half and just filling it with new rye, because rye will overpower the crap out of everything you do. Like, honestly, Canadian ryes, if they're done right, are the most powerful whiskeys you can make.
I love my rye.
I love my rye too.
I do. Yeah. Well, my wife's saying you're losing the age, but I don't think you want to count on the age.
The age is irrelevant at this point. It's like if I go and spend $35,000 on a 40-year whiskey, did I buy the best whiskey I could buy, or did I buy somebody's failure like I just did? Like, that's the question. Who can answer that? I have no idea. No marketing guy is ever going to
ask these questions.
Well, that's more what I think.
Yeah.
You know, you just talking about that. I took some of your last straw rye and added it to my watered down version.
And
it's not bad.
Because rye overpowers it.
Yeah.
Done.
Okay, I'll do it.
All right. I'll tell you what, I'll throw some of my corn into it, and I'll see what I can do.
I'm putting some of the whiskey in the 6 in there. What's in the whiskey in the 6?
70% corn, 20% rye, 10% barley.
10% barley, right.
Yeah.
Sorry, you said that. I should have remembered.
Unmalted, though. Nothing was malted. I used enzymes on it.
Enzymes for the rye. It's the only thing you need.
I use enzymes for all of it.
Do you?
Yeah, I use that. Even if I do malted barley, I use enzymes. I do some.
Do you find that doesn't tax the yeast more? Why would you? Why for barley or corn?
So barley has a lot of good alpha amylase that goes up to about 158 Fahrenheit. I like taking my stuff up to 195. Okay. So I use some high heat. I use high heat amylase.
So you're doing it like a beer.
I'm doing it like a beer, but I also use a low heat as well. So I use a beta glucamase, and I come. So it's just what I've been doing, and it's been working in my world. So I don't want to change it.
What do you think, Dolph?
Well, it's more palatable, but I still can't get away from my paintbrush. Seriously, and just about every adult that I know of that owns a house has painted something, and no one uses oil anymore. So you're on the latex, and you're the hot water on the latex paint as it comes wafting in your face in the gross laundry tub downstairs. That's it. That's the memory, and maybe that's where I am with Don. I understand Don's memory linked to all of his other, his two other whiskeys. The memory is just too fresh or too vivid to get rid of, and you can't work beyond it. Maybe so, but who knows? We'll see what you do. Maybe we're talking about this in 5 years, and one of them ended up being the best whiskey you've ever had because you did something crazy with it. Maybe it's in a rose water barrel or something, and then I don't know. Who knows? But I like the experimentation thought to it. So if you do, I wouldn't say put it into a really expensive barrel. Obviously.
No. I think right now I'm just going to hang on to them. I'm going to absorb what we did tonight. I'm going to think about it a lot. And, sometimes an idea pops into my head or an opportunity shows up. So, however, these will not be released in their form as Last Straw whiskeys.
Excellent. Well, not excellent, but I'm glad. And let's just say kudos to you for doing this tonight. And I don't think this has ever been done. I really don't think that I've ever seen a distiller owner talk about the whiskeys that have gone wrong. So the word I had was whiskey's gone wild. I had a whole bunch of other names I had for these too, and I can't remember where they went. I had like about 10 other names that I was thinking I was going to call this. So whiskey's gone wild. No, I'm gonna find it. I had a lot of them. And while I'm doing this, here we go. We had the whiskey mishaps, the cask corruptions, cask controversies, the barrel blowouts, barrel blunders, the feral barrels. And so the whiskey gone wild was the one I came up with as the end. And I was going to add these things throughout, but I forgot. So
that's okay.
I thought it would have been funny coming up with a different thing each time.
Well, I'll put it this way. If any other distillery out there, and I'm including anybody, like if Dr. Don Livermore wants to put out his worst whiskeys, I'd be willing to be on that panel because I'd love to do it. And I think this is something that Canadian whiskey needs. I think people need to show the experimentation they've been doing, the failures, and I'd rather just be open to everybody. Hey, we screw up all the time. And I was taken aback when we won the awards we did.
No, you deserve it. You know it. It's all
no, you know what? Yes, we deserve it, but we also screw up, and I don't want to discourage people from getting into this because this is a great thing to do. I love doing it every day that I come here. As bad as stuff can get in a day, it's still I go home happy.
Good. I can't picture a job where you haven't screwed up. And as a teacher, I know when I was younger, I screwed up a lot. And the things I said, the things I did. And I have student teachers, and I train teachers that have been training teachers now for a while. And it's just you go with your heart. If you're doing this job, you're a good person, I think. You have an ideal that you want to reach for. And if you mess up along the way, learn from it. Who cares what it is? As long as you haven't killed yourself or someone else, learn from it, go on and get better. So, and we're doing this tonight with you, Don. So I'm going to say thank you to you. I'm going to say thank you to Richard and Steve for coming on and doing this with me because this was a lot of fun. I really appreciate this. And stick around. We'll talk for a little while. But let's go last comments with anyone on the side. If you have last comments, we've got 15, 17 people have been coming in and out. So if they have a comment, put that up. Otherwise, let's go in the same order. No, let's not. Steve, any last comments, buddy? I can't remember.
I was just saying, like, yeah, everyone's going to screw up barrels. It's a fact of distilling.
Yeah.
The difference is with smaller craft distilleries and stuff like that. That's a big deal for you.
Mm-hmm.
You're not like Don, who can mix it with 1,000 other barrels and make it disappear if he has to.
Hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, kudos for you for putting these out there. This is, when Dolph told me what this was, I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah.
You know, it's not too often you hear about the barrels that didn't go right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve. Rich?
Yeah, I agree. You know, the word that comes to mind is integrity, Don.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that you've mentioned it yourself that you live between 3 and 5 years. Every small distillery, every barrel is important. If you have a bad barrel, it's a big loss. And there's a lot of, I think with the craft distilleries that are out there these days, there's a lot of stuff coming onto the market that is not necessarily overly drinkable. Mm-hmm. So kudos to you for acknowledging it and saying, hey, this is not stuff that I'm proud of. You know, I'm willing to open up and talk about it and share it with the panel and expose it, but I'm not going to bottle it. And I think that's 100% to your credit. So, yeah, cheers and thanks for sharing these. But it was fun. It was a great experience, you know. And I want to see this stuff. I don't want to go out and buy a bottle only to go, oh, damn, the hell was this? And we've all done that. I've bought a few bottles over the years from distilleries, and you know, not only small boutique ones, but you know, Sulphur Spring Banks and you know, sort of things. So, yeah. So kudos to you. I appreciate it. This has been great.
Thank you.
Yeah, the big boys won't always tell you.
I told you the integrity.
Last comments from you, sir.
I think the reason I did this, I know, Dolph, when you and I first spoke about this, you said we can do this off camera, or we can do this like offline. We'll just do like between us. And then I mulled that over for a bit, and I thought, no, this needs to come out. Part of the reason I do what I do at Last Straw, I want to make awesome whiskeys, but I also help distilleries. I help other guys. And I do that because the day I walked into Stillwaters and said, Barry Steen, I want to be a distiller, he opened up and showed me everything. And I thought everybody needs to have somebody to guide them. And I'm not saying I'm not saying I should be the guy guiding everybody, but I want to give people out there, like, don't, like, if you screw up, it's cool. Screw up, leave it aside, and figure out what your mistake was and make something cool. Don't put garbage out, because you're just tainting the entire industry when you do that. Put good stuff out. And if you don't know how to make good stuff, go to the people that are making good stuff. I love stock and barrel stuff, and I went to them, and you know, they kind of guided me into the way to do things. And you know, Jesse and Charles from Toronto Distillery, the same. They showed me where I was making mistakes, and they didn't have to do that. Yep. And I think it's a cool part of the industry, and I think it's Canada wide. I don't think it's like just Ontario, my neighborhood. I think everybody should be helping everybody else out. If this helps somebody just about to get their license to realize, holy shit, like, don't put crap whiskey out, figure out how to do it. I think that's the most important thing. Let's elevate the brand. Let's elevate Canada, and let's kick the shit out of the Scots, because I think we can. Excellent.
Let's do it. Although I love Scotch. However,
I love Scotch too.
It'll lower the price of Scotch if there's more. I think it's over.
If we can get a Bruichladdich down to $50, I'd be good.
55 here is when I'm getting the Bruichladdich.
I'm 75, 79 here. So.
Oh, Jesus,
55 with just GST.
55 with GST is what we get when we get it on sale. Here is what we get. But
it's we rich 70.
BC, it's probably 70.
I'm checking right now, but
I'm talking classic laddie. We're doing the blue tin.
Oh, it's 76 plus 15%.
50%.
Is that what it is?
I think it's 76. Yeah.
Yeah, we're about $76 to $80, somewhere in that range.
We're 60 in the 60, but on sale you're getting it in the 50. So I guess you gentlemen just have to come to Alberta. I'll put you up for a little while, and you can go. You can go. I was saying, stop.
Just wrap it up.
You can go shopping. Right? So we're gonna go shopping. All right, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Thank you to
Thanks, Paul.
everybody out there tonight. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Rich, Steve, for your help
Cheers.
tonight. Thank you for going out on the ledge and helping everyone else out there. We'll see you again Tuesday with Blair and I. And next Saturday, I'm with Pip Hills from SMWS. So is really exciting because, yeah, I got this. And if you don't know SMWS, you just look over Rich's shoulder and you'll see him there. You'll see my SMWS, Scotch Malt Whiskey Society, and Pip Hill's the founder of it. I've got him for 3 weeks, and he's a storyteller, guys. I talk a lot with you. I can't do that with Pip. It just won't go. I'll say like 5 words, and he's going to be off for hours, man. So it's good. Thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic night.
Cheers, guys.
Everybody.